What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing another comparison in 2019. Obviously 2019, it's not going to be 2020 or 2018. I'm such an idiot. We're going to be doing a comparison between the iPhone 6s Plus and the iPhone 7. Now, these two phones came out a year away from each other, and you might be wondering, man, why are you talking about two old phones? Like, why would you not talk about your iPhone XR or the new upcoming phones? And the main reason being is not everyone's like you, all right? Not everyone just wants to see that one video. On the real though, I know there's a lot of people out there who still want to look at the older phones. I mean, that's why I do those double eye swipes. Is it still worth it in? Because I know a lot of people still want to see whether a phone is still worth it, and some people don't know whether they want to buy an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 6s Plus. And surprisingly, in the price bracket, they're around the same price. So I've seen them go for around that $200 mark, sometimes like the $150 to $200. That's where both these phones usually sell at for the base models. And there's a lot of things to consider when you're looking at both these phones. So obviously, just looking around the bodies, they both look kind of the same, but obviously the iPhone 6s Plus is noticeably bigger. So we have a 5.5 inch screen, 1080p on the 6s Plus, and a 4.7 inch screen on the iPhone 7. And in my opinion, I do definitely think that the 6s Plus has a better screen overall. I'm one of those people who likes having their screen real estate and just like a much bigger phone overall. But the iPhone 7 also, the screen isn't that bad looking. You know I kind of bashed the iPhone XR. I kind of made amends with it recently, but the screen on the iPhone 7 isn't that bad either. And that might have a lot to do with just how like small the screen is, and the PPIs are almost the same. I mean, we have 401 pixels per inch on the iPhone 6s Plus and 326 pixels per inch on the iPhone 7. So kind of a little bit of difference there, but in reality, the iPhone 6s Plus is going to have a better screen, but there's really not that much of difference between those two, if I'm being honest. It's really just up to you and preference, whether you like the bigger screen or the smaller screen, and that might dictate which phone you might get off the bat, but there's still a lot of other differentiating factors between the two. One huge thing to consider is that the iPhone 6s Plus does have a real clicking home button on the front, so you can actually click that bad boy in and out. They both have Touch ID too, but the iPhone 7 does have a virtual kind of vibration motor home button, so it's not an actual button. It just vibrates that button, so it makes it feel like you're clicking on it, but you're really not. So that could be a deal breaker for you guys, and it was kind of a deal breaker for me, and you might be wondering why. Why does that small little button affect you that much? And the main reason being was the repairability of these phones. So looking forward, I mean, if these phones were brand new, I'd just be like, go get it, whatever, it doesn't matter, go get it in the store. But because these phones are usually used, you're going to get these phones used now. The repairability of a phone, how likely it is for you to fix it or how cheap it is, whatever, that's super important. And in my opinion, the iPhone 6s Plus is much easier to fix than the iPhone 7, and it all has to do with that home button. What Apple did, it was the dumbest thing ever. With the 6s Plus, you can repair the screen no problem, and your Touch ID will still work, the logic board, nothing bad will happen to your phone. However, when Apple made the iPhone 7, they tethered the home button to the screen, so you can't replace the whole entire screen. You can replace the glass, I'm pretty sure, but if you replace the whole LCD, you will actually lose the functionality of your home button. So you'll actually have to go to the Apple store and get it replaced, and that costs however much money, probably over $100. Maybe even $200, I have no idea. And that in and of itself was such a dumb thing Apple ever did. I don't know why they ever did that. I mean, I know why they did that. It's just for them to make even more money from the people. But that's kind of a huge thing. And if it was my opinion, I always like fixing the things myself before I go take it to the store and have them charge me like an arm and a leg for it. And screen repairs are super easy to do. You can do them yourself, but Apple made it extremely hard for the average person like me or you, whatever, to repair their phones without having to give up some functionality. So my iPhone 7 that I have now does not have a working home button. I might end up just buying another iPhone 7, but the repairability of these things is kind of important. And I know I spent a minute talking about it, but that's one thing I have to note. The iPhone 6s Plus is much easier to repair than the iPhone 7. Another quick thing to note, the iPhone 7 does have IP67 dust and water resistance, so you can dip it up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. The iPhone 6s Plus did have a little bit of water resistance, but they never really advertised it as such, so for that, I'm probably just not going to say it does. So the iPhone 7 definitely wins in, I guess, the ruggedness category. Now, they both have Force Touch and all those different things. Now, switching to the software side of things, this is where there's quite a bit of difference, and not even necessarily now, but in the future. The iPhone 6s Plus and the iPhone 7 are both running iOS 12, 12.1.3 as of me recording this video, but obviously the footage was recorded before that. And here's the thing, the iPhone 6s Plus, I think, is going to get done. It's not going to get any more updates past iOS 13, and the iPhone 7 is supposed to stop at iOS 14. Now, with both of these numbers, I could be completely wrong. Apple could go and support the iPhone 6s Plus an extra year, so the iPhone 7 and the 6s Plus end the same year, but Apple could also support the iPhone 7 an extra year, making the gap between the 6s Plus and the iPhone 7 2 years, so in terms of software. So I don't know where to leave this at. Because they're one generation away from each other, I would just be safer to say that they're going to be 1 year apart in software updates. So obviously, if you get the iPhone 7, it's going to last you longer in terms of software updates than the iPhone 6s Plus, so that is pretty important to note. And because they're the same price, it's kind of astounding that you can get a phone that's almost the same price and have it last longer in software. But again, this is all kind of up in the air. Logically, they should be a year from each other. The iPhone 7 should outlast an iPhone 6s Plus, but I don't really know at this point. But in terms of software, they both have pretty much the exact same features. There's no features on the iPhone 7 that don't really exist on the iPhone 6s Plus. That's a really cool thing. Now, in terms of the performance, the iPhone 6s Plus has the Apple A9 chip, a dual-core CPU, and 2 gigs of RAM, with the iPhone 7 has the Apple A10 Fusion chip, a quad-core CPU, and 2 gigs of RAM as well. And honestly, I would have loved to say the 6s Plus was a better performer because I love the 6s Plus, I love the iPhone 6s, but I definitely do think the iPhone 7 is better at performance than the 6s Plus. And when I say better, I mean like, yes, it is better. You will probably notice a little bit here and there that it's faster, but I don't think it's like a night and day difference. I would say if the iPhone 7 was like 100% at performance, like it's the cream of the crop, whatever, the iPhone 6s Plus would probably be like a 90%, you know? I don't think it's like crazy amounts of faster. I mean, the difference between the iPhone 6 and the 6s Plus was crazy, but the difference between the 6s Plus and iPhone 7 in terms of performance isn't really that much, I'll be honest. And that kind of goes the same thing with gaming as well. I mean, I could probably say the iPhone 7 is better at gaming and everything, and it is. I mean, it's a better performing phone, but if I'm not comparing them side by side, I don't really see how the 6s Plus could be like way better than the iPhone 7, but I know deep down it is because they both are almost the same phone, just with better internals on the 7. So obviously I would say in terms of performance, the iPhone 7 is better, but I don't think it's like that much better. If the iPhone 7 was way more expensive than the 6s Plus, I probably would stick with the 6s Plus. Now, switching to the camera, this is also pretty interesting because they both have single sensors and they're both the same megapixel count. They both have optical image stabilization. By the way, the megapixel count is 12 megs in case I didn't say it. They both can shoot 4K videos at 30 frames per second and 1080p at up to 120 frames per second. And I think in terms of the photos, I don't really remember one being way better than the other. I did a comparison actually between the 6s Plus and 10R and the 7 and the 10R, and I found that the photos between all of them were pretty decent. I think the 6s Plus still can definitely hold its own. I think the iPhone 7 isn't horrible, but really, I would say they're both in the same league. They both don't have portrait mode. They both don't have the secondary lens, no telephoto zoom, no nothing like that. But because the iPhone 7 is the newer phone, I would probably just give that the benefit of the doubt. I know that's kind of a stupid thing to say, but that's probably where I would end that off, is the iPhone 7. Because it's a newer hardware, I would probably give that the benefit of the doubt. Now, there's a little bit of difference on the front cameras. The iPhone 6s Plus had a 5 megapixel sensor. The iPhone 7 had a 7 megapixel sensor. And again, I would probably give the edge to the iPhone 7 because it is a higher megapixel count. I know megapixels aren't everything, but I will say that both these cameras on both these devices aren't even that big of a difference between each other. If you showed me a 6s Plus photo and an iPhone 7 photo, I probably would not be able to tell the difference. But with that being said, I do think that the cameras on these things are pretty decent still. There's that. Now, the battery life is one of those things that's completely different on both these phones. So with the iPhone 7, it had a 1960 mAh battery, and the iPhone 6s Plus had a 2750 mAh battery. And in my opinion, I really do think that the 6s Plus has better battery life than the iPhone 7, and this has a lot to do with the size of the battery itself, you know. I guess some people could say that the iPhone 7, because it has more performance or because it's heavier in performance, whatever, that's why the battery life is worse. But I'm telling you guys right now, the battery size is the most important thing, okay? These phone manufacturers, they want you to think that the battery size can be smaller, but they're going to optimize it, this and that. I'm telling you guys, the iPhone 6s Plus is much better in battery life because of the battery size. In the 2007, I mean, it's almost 1,000 mAh difference between these two. And I would say you could easily, I mean, if you were to end the day off at like 10% on the iPhone 7, you'd probably end the day off on the iPhone 6s Plus at like 35%, honestly. Probably even more than that. The battery life on the 6s Plus is very decent. It's not the best. I think before the 10R, maybe the 6 Plus had better battery life. But even with that, I think the 6s Plus between these two is definitely much better at battery life than the iPhone 7. Now, some other notable things to note, the iPhone 6s Plus still does have the headphone jack. Apple's not going to take that away from you, where the iPhone 7 does not. So if you're one of those people that just can't move on with their life, the 6s Plus does have the headphone jack for you, just waiting for you there. Another thing to note, the base model sizes between these two are a little bit different. The iPhone 6s Plus has a 16 gig variant for the base model. The iPhone 7 has a 32 gig variant. So you can also get a 256 gig variant of the iPhone 7, where you can only get a 128 gig variant of the iPhone 6s Plus. So a little bit of difference there. And to kind of end this off, I mean, would I recommend you getting an iPhone 6s Plus or an iPhone 7 in 2019? And if it was between these two, honestly, I would probably recommend you to get the iPhone 6s Plus. Okay, now this is what I would do. This is a game plan. I would get the iPhone 6s Plus, even though they're around the same price tag, whatever. mainly because of the battery life, but because of the bigger size, I'm a person who likes the bigger size. So if you like the smaller size, go with the iPhone 7. But this is what I would do. I would get an iPhone 6s Plus now. I would keep it for about a year, for as long as I need to, but probably a year. I would let iOS 12 do its thing. I would let iOS 13 do its thing, get all the updates and everything. And then probably by next January, I would just sell that, recoup the money, probably end up losing $20-$30, maybe more, a little bit, $30-$40 max. And then I would just end up go buy another iPhone 7. And then from there, I would just buy an iPhone 7 or even whatever, because those phones are going to depreciate a lot more than the iPhone 6s Plus, because this one has hit a pretty big, decent depreciation point. I don't think it's going to depreciate much more than what it is already. So that's kind of the game plan I would give you. Now you can do whatever you want. It's a free country, do you? But that's kind of what I would do. So I would almost recommend the 6s Plus over the iPhone 7 temporarily right now. But if you want to buy a phone right now and you don't want to have to upgrade all the time, this and that, go with the iPhone 7. It's going to last you longer in terms of software. So that's where I'm going to leave it at. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. I will leave links to an iPhone 6s Plus and an iPhone 7 in the description below. The cheapest ones I find on Amazon, I'll link them straight down there. And every single time you buy anything through that link, it actually helps the channel out. So go crazy, go buy whatever you want to through those links. And we can do more giveaways and videos and all those things. So that'll mean so much. Leave some comments. What do you guys think? Do you think the iPhone 6s Plus should be better? Do you think the iPhone 7 should be better? Let me know in the comment section below. Hit that like button. That'll mean so much. But definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.